Watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to the next monthly movie recap. This one's only 2 months out, so it's not too bad. It's only a month late. But the first movie we're going to talk about today will be Mean Creek. Now, this is a movie that I watched with my friend Rem, also known as the Pitcher from Sergeant Friends, and it has Josh Peck in it as an annoying yet sympathetic little bastard. And it's sort of a coming-of-age, sort of revenge, tragedy movie. Where Josh Peck's character bullies this character who's played by Rory Culkin, who then tells his brother about it, and then they come up with this elaborate plan with his brother and his brother's friends to go and get revenge on him by taking him out to this river. And spoilers coming up, just so you know. But they take him out, and the plan was to strip him down and throw him in the river. Some of them start getting cold feet on it because he seems mostly nice. They do a pretty good job in this movie at making Josh's character both incredibly annoying and hateable, but also sympathetic, and you feel bad for him, and it's also really sad. Some of them change their minds, and then they play this truth or dare game on the boat. And then Josh's character, whose name was George, I'm pretty sure, crosses a bunch of lines by like pushing a bunch of buttons and stuff. And so then one of them tells him, hey, we were going to throw you in the river. And then Josh's character snaps and crosses a line again, this time saying, oh, your daddy splattered his brains all over the wall. All over the wall. It's this whole big thing. And then he's trying to throw him in, and then like they're fighting over it, and the older brother of Rory Culkin's character accidentally knocks him in the river. And then they watch him back there struggling. He can't swim. He's drowning. And then he smacks himself in the face with his video camera as he's trying not to drown, because he carries a video camera. That was a big thing with the characters, that he filmed everything. And he dies. He fucking dies. And that's a whole big thing, obviously, because then the characters, they bury the body, they're trying to determine what they should do about this, and then eventually they decide they're going to tell the truth, and this guy, Marty, who's like the oldest one, decides he's going to flee, so he robs a liquor store and gets the hell out of there. It was a really good movie, very simple, very indie, and it had Josh Peck and Rory Culkin in it, and it was sad. They did a really good job at making you both hate Josh's character, George, and also feel really bad for him. He clearly also had like some form of autism or anything. That's never explicitly said, but it's pretty fucking obvious with the way that the character is portrayed. But overall, really good movie. The next movie we'll talk about is Watchers, which I saw in theaters. I think it's The Watchers. And it was made by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. Now, why did I see it in theaters? As you know, I don't really go to theaters anymore. Well, I saw it in theaters because a relative of mine's birthday was coming up, and we went to see it for that. It was pretty dull, pretty generic. It had some interesting concepts, but it's based on, like, fairy folklore, because there's, like changeling-type things, which are what the Watchers are. And they can't leave this, like, forest, and then this chick, like, gets stuck in the forest. And they have to, like, do everything that these Watchers want, and they perform for them in this, like, hut that has, like, a glass screen. Then they find out there was a scientist who was studying them. This scientist also was with one of them, and I think had a kid with one of them. I don't even fucking remember. Point is, that was a whole big thing. Scientist died, and, bunch of the people died when they went into this forest, but a few of them get out, and then one of the changelings actually gets out, because you find out the old lady who's been telling them all the rules and stuff was one of the changeling things, one of the Watcher type creatures. I think that was kind of obvious, but it's what turned out to be true. Overall, not honestly all that great. It was okay at best. Like, it was like maybe like a 5 out of 10, if that. Next up, we have Double Down, the third Neil Breen movie I've seen, and Neil Breen's first movie overall. Pretty fun. It has standard Breen stuff. It does have the iconic, I'm an American, I love my country, that speech. It has Neil Breen being, like, kind of a Gary Stu who's, like, really good at everything. They portray him to have, like, sort of a double life, I think, where he's supposed to be kind of bad, because he's, like, gonna take down the whole grid of Vegas and, like, spread anthrax, which, by the way, he spread some of the anthrax, and they just kind of pretend that didn't happen. Again, it's Neil Breen. If you like Neil Breen, you know what you're going into. It's not good, it's fucking stupid, and that's why you watch it. That's why it's great. It seems in some regards, more competently put together than some of his later films, like Fateful Findings, or especially Twisted Pair. Twisted Pair is a fucking clusterfuck of all sorts of crazy shit. I would say that this one wasn't as fun as those other two either. It definitely gets zany and wacky and has stupid Neil Breen shenanigans throughout it. But it's not my favorite Neil Breen movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. Again, if you like Neil Breen, check it out. Although, good luck finding it, because it's a pain in the ass to find. But anyway, decent enough, so bad it's good experience. I enjoyed it for what it was. Next up, we got Meet the Feebles, which is a movie made by Peter Jackson, way before he did Lord of the Rings or King Kong. And it's basically taking the idea of what if the Muppet Show was adult, right? Like, what if behind the scenes there was all this shit going on, like drug use, sex, crime, murder, all sorts of crazy shit, right? And it's really fun. It's not a movie that really follows one centralized plot. It has sort of an ensemble cast. It's just a bunch of, grotesque and adult themes with these Muppet-type characters. It's nowhere near as gross as I thought it would be. It does have a good amount of gross out in it, but I was expecting far grosser. And then the movie, at the ending, has a shootout scene where this hippo character, who's been ridiculed the whole time and, abused and used by this manager who's just using her for sex, she just snaps and just goes on a fucking killing spree. She takes out a lot of people that weren't the director. She just fucking shoots the place up. A few characters survive and they talk her out of it. But it doesn't really follow a 3-act structure. It's kind of all over the place. It's just a bunch of little things that kind of happen. But it's a lot of fun. It's definitely the best, Muppets but adult type movie I've seen. The only other one I can really think of is Happy Time Murders. If you're expanding to TV shows, there's things like Crank Yankers, and if you expand to internet stuff, there's stuff like SML. But, as far as actual movies, this has probably been the one I've enjoyed the most. Again, I'm comparing it mostly to Happy Time Murders, which sucked ass. But this movie was a lot of fun, and nowhere near as gross as I thought it would be, which was a plus, because I'm not the biggest fan of gross out. Alright, next up we have Taxi Driver. Now, this is the third Martin Scorsese movie I've seen. The other two being The Departed and The Last Temptation of Christ, which I'm pretty sure I've talked about both of those on Movie Recap before. With Taxi Driver, it stars Robert De Niro as a taxi driver who's a veteran who just got back from the war and isn't really that in touch with how society and stuff works now. He gets with this chick, takes her to a porno theater on a date, and she leaves him, even though she explicitly said, "No, this is a dirty movie, I don't want to see this." And he's like, No, it'll be fine, you'll love it. And then she leaves, and he's like, "This woman who said that she didn't want to see a dirty movie got mad when I showed her a dirty movie? What is this?" It's the self-awareness was bizarre with that. But then there's a scene where he tries to assassinate this guy who she was campaigning for politically. And not because of his policies or anything, because this guy, we actually never learn anything about this guy's policies, but there's a scene where he goes and tries to take him out, simply out of spite for the chick leaving him, it seems like. There's also a scene where he shoots a robber who's trying to rob this convenience store that he goes to. He spends a lot of this movie going to the porno theater to just hang out and watch porno. He also, works out and builds this elaborate weapon thing. That's what he was going to go take that guy out with. But then he decides to use it in another way towards the end of the movie, which is easily the best scene of the movie. Because there's this girl who's 12. I think they say she's 12 and a half. She's played by Jodie Foster, who's been forced into prostitution. And he sees that. And he decides he's going to get her out of there, because she tried to get help from him by going to his cab one night. And finally, he's like, I'm going to save her. And so then he snaps and he kills all of the pimps and pedophiles that are there trying to fuck her, and just fucking goes on this bloody fucking massacre in the hotel that they're keeping her at. He gets shot to hell but survives. And she gets taken back to her parents, and he's viewed as a hero by the town. Now, for some reason, a lot of people view this character as a villain. I would say he's absolutely a hero. The scene where he tries to take out that one guy definitely isn't heroic. But the scene itself feels kind of out of place compared to some other things. At the very least, the character's an anti-hero, because he did save that girl. And he took out a bunch of really bad people doing it. So At the very least, he's an anti-hero. I really liked this movie. It was really good. That last scene is one of the best endings to a movie I've seen. That said, it's not my favorite Scorsese movie so far. I still preferred The Departed, although I think I liked this one more than Last Temptation of Christ. All of the Scorsese movies I've seen have been great, but this one, probably second place. But maybe after a few watches, we'll see. Also, interestingly, this movie inspired the guy who shot Reagan and tried to take him out, because of the scene where the main character tries to take out that other politician. He saw that, and then this guy was obsessed with Jodie Foster in this movie, so he thought that if he reenacted it from the movie, it would impress the then child Jodie Foster that he replicated something from her movie. It was this weird nut. It's just an interesting fact that the guy who tried to kill Reagan was obsessed with Jodie Foster from this movie, and then tried to take him out because of it to try and impress her. It's really fucking weird. Next movie we're going to be talking about, and the last one of this movie recap, is Buffalo 66. Now, this is a really interesting movie. It's very unique. It's about a guy getting out of prison, and then kidnapping a girl to pretend to be his wife while talking to his parents. Now, his parents don't really give a shit about him. His mom keeps forgetting his name. His dad seems completely disinterested. He's just using this chick as to show that he's normal. And the chick likes it. She absolutely likes it. She's fucking there's multiple opportunities where she could have left, and spoiler, they end up together at the end of the movie, and she clearly likes him because there's multiple times where she wants to stay with him. Also, I get the implication that the guy might have been raped in prison or molested as a kid, because he really doesn't like being touched. He doesn't want her to touch him or anything like that, and he's really, really paranoid about that. And she's played by Christina Ricci. The movie itself is very, you can see kind of how unhinged the character is. He wants to take out this guy that he views as fucking him over when it came to, by fucking up a football game. He's a former player for the Buffalo Bills, I believe. He wants to take, it's very similar to Ray Finkel's motivation in Ace Ventura. Honestly, I almost wonder if Ace Ventura, I almost wonder if one of them inspired the other. They both came out in the 90s. In fact, I think Ace Ventura came out first. Let's see. Yeah, Ace Ventura came out 4 years before, looks like. I don't think there's any actual inspiration there. It would be interesting if there was. But it is very similar to Ray Finkel's motivation in Ace Ventura 1. But yeah, he's about to go, and there's a scene where you see him kill all the people in the strip club. He kills the guy and gets his revenge and then kills himself. That's a dream, or a hallucination rather. He envisions that, but then he sees that the guy's kind of just a normal guy and decides not to kill him. And then he goes back and he ends up together with the chick. Also, he was using her he gave her a name of this girl that he had a crush on in high school, who barely even knows he exists. But yeah, it's overall a good movie. It's very unique. It's the first Vincent Gallo movie I've seen. And he also, he directed it and also plays the main character. Yeah, overall, really good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So yeah, that's it for this week, this month's monthly movie recap. And I'm going to do a compilation of the episodes I have so far as the first year, because we've done 12 months, right? Even though they haven't exactly been back-to-back. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Have a good one. Toodles!
You take forever to say nothing.
Subscribe to Fiji to Red Eye.